Noob School.
All right, welcome back to Noob School. Episode, believe it or not, 141. 141. Today I've got a good friend, Scott Thomas. Scott, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks.
We haven't known Scott that long, but I feel like I have. We've gotten to be fast friends, I would say.
That's fair. Yeah, absolutely. It's
Has it been like 6 months?
or maybe just a few days.
Maybe
who
a
knows?
few days. Well, I like him. Anyway, Scott's got a fascinating background, and I would say Scott is a really good kind of operational manager and also very good salesperson. So it's a good combination to be hanging around. And today lives in Greenville and runs his own company, helping mostly tech CEOs, but CEOs in general, kind of just manage their life better, manage things better, solve problems, and obviously you help with acquisitions and things like that.
Correct. Yep.
So that's pretty cool. And so let's just get a little bit about your background, and then we'll kind of catch up to where we are today and talk sales. So where did you grow up?
I'm originally from Oregon, and I would say my journey's been pretty diverse.
Yeah.
I went to school in Los Angeles at Loyola Marymount University, did ROTC, went into the Air Force, had the opportunity to serve in Afghanistan as a captain, civil engineer actually. Got out of the Air Force.
Hold on now. There's a lot there. I want to hear more about this. So why did you decide to do ROTC? That's not really a California, Oregon kind of thing.
You're spot on. What's funny is
You're the only one in class.
growing up, because the West Coast doesn't have the same, awareness of maybe really what that means to join the military. I didn't even know there's a difference between officers and enlisted. I didn't want to go work in a cubicle out of college, so I said, hey, you know what? If I go do RTC, I could travel the world, I could serve my country, and was inspired to do so. This was before 9/11. It was right before 9/11, actually. And so I had the opportunity to travel the world and get those experiences that way, and learned that, going into be an officer, great. So it was a very awesome opportunity.
So you decided to do that. That makes perfectly good sense. And you must have studied engineering in college.
Yes. Yep.
Was that hard?
It is. The first day of classes in engineering school, they say, you see those kids out there playing Frisbee in the quad? That'll never be you. For every hour in the classroom, you're going to spend 3 hours studying. And so I set out to make a point that I could get my studies done in an hour, so I could still enjoy what college had to offer and not be stuck in books the whole time, and feel fairly good that I accomplished that. So.
And Loyola Marymount.
Marymount.
What would that school be known for?
A lot of people know them for the run and gun and basketball style of Bo Kimball, Hank Gathers. A long time ago. And good engineering school, good science and technology school. Obviously, being in Los Angeles, there's the actor and the theater aspect of it as well. But a well-rounded, good liberal arts school.
And why did you pick that school?
Growing up in Oregon, there's a lot of rain, and I said, you know what, I need to go south, and I got to get someplace drier with more sunshine, and so explored all my different options for schools and universities, really in California and a little bit in Arizona in the West.
Okay. And last college question, almost last one. Why would you major in civil engineering?
I always loved math, always loved building things, loved understanding how to put things together, and kind of just naturally lean towards that. My brother is older than me by 5 years. He's an engineer as well. He actually went into the Air Force, kind of inspired me and opened that door, that awareness of what it means to serve your country while also being able to kind of go down the engineering track.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, I got no problem with it other than the fact that it's very difficult. I could never have done it. But, I know a lot of entrepreneur engineers in business, and they all kind of just have that ability to break things down, look at all the details, not just kind of broad brush it. So I think that's it's a good beginning.
Absolutely. Fantastic foundation to have that understanding of
So you graduated and they gave you your bars, right? You get
correct.
bars?
Butter bars.
Butter bars. And you're a captain Where are
I
you?
got out as a captain, but yeah, I started as a second lieutenant.
Second lieutenant in the Air Force.
Correct.
And so you're a civil engineer, and then where did they send you?
I was stationed in Phoenix, Arizona at Luke Air Force Base. So
Okay.
F-16 training base at the time. So now they're F-35 training base, but just moved a little bit east to the Phoenix area.
Okay, okay. And so what does a civil engineer do in that kind of job?
So stateside, your primary focus is maintaining base infrastructure, everything from runways to buildings to new construction projects. When you deploy, it's usually, I had the opportunity to deploy after Katrina, so there was reconstruction efforts that we were working and kind of recovery efforts. And then when you deploy overseas, I deployed to a remote operating base in Afghanistan, or forward operating base. And basically you're working with local government leaders on building everything from bridges to micro hydro power plants to police stations to schools, really doing project management, construction management in a combat zone while getting shot at.
Right. Did it get close, the shots?
We had gotten in a couple ticks.
And so with your rank over there, were you typically project managing several of those projects at the same time?
We would usually be in charge of reconstruction efforts with one or two other civil engineer equivalents. So Army Corps of Engineers, Navy Seabees, they were on site with us as well. There's a couple of us. And then we would manage all projects or all construction projects in a province within Afghanistan.
Okay. Wow. That's some amazing kind of, I would say, engineering project management experience.
And perspective giving.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So one deployment over there and then back?
Correct, yes.
Okay. Whew. But you're glad to be out of harm's way. That's just amazing. I certainly can't imagine what it's like wondering anytime you're inside or outside of a building that bullets could start whizzing by,
Correct.
or worse.
And then the stress that comes along for family and everything else as well.
Right,
So
right. Okay, so how long did you stay in the Air Force?
I got out as a captain, so 4 years.
4 years. And then while you were in the Air Force, I think you got your MBA, is that
That's
right?
correct, yes.
How did you do that?
I did it at night.
Okay.
Because I had some spare time, and I said, hey, you know what? It's more efficient to get this done while I'm in the Air Force
Right.
than if I separate as a captain, I already have that accolade or that learning already accomplished, so that it diversifies where I can take my career from there.
Okay. Well, that was a good move. I mean, gosh, you're getting out of, you've been a captain in the Air Force. You went to a good engineering school, got a good degree. You've been deployed, and you've got your MBA, and you're what, 26 years old?
Right now?
I mean, at the time you got out,
Yeah, right about that.
26. That's pretty strong 26-year-old, I would say.
Yeah, it had some good momentum.
Yeah. And so at that moment, is that when you went to work for Harris?
No, I actually was recruited by a fellow Air Force officer and mentor now. He was running a very forward-thinking, technology-based utility company, and he hired me to help run water utilities in the fastest-growing water utility in America at the time, in Maricopa, Arizona.
Okay. So that was just I guess, happenstance to some degree. You knew this person. And
I did not know him, but he knew of the skill sets that an officer coming out of the Air Force possesses, and so saw the value in investing in that kind of talent.
Okay. And so you went to work managing those kinds of things?
Essentially a director of public works for a private utility.
The DPW.
Yep.
And how did that go?
Great. It was fun, high-paced, high growth. So you can imagine with any high-growth organization, there's a lot of challenges, but you're never a dull day. A lot of chance for experimentation and kind of refining processes and procedures and systems and checklists. But it was a good experience, and another one where it's humble. You're not going to be the smartest person in the room because you're running the operation, and really trusting those on the front lines on how to be better, how to iterate, and how to continue to kind of evolve the organization.
Wow, that's wild. I never would have predicted that part of it.
Yep.
So and you used your engineering, your project management, and your leadership, right? You used all that stuff to manage that, I would think.
Correct. Yes.
And then what about fluoride? So I have fluoride in your water.
What's that? Chlorine was the primary additive that we had. So.
Chlorine. And chlorine, what kills bugs and stuff?
Yeah, you need a residual in the lines to basically keep the water safe for drinking.
And you feel like that was some pretty safe water you had?
Absolutely. It was groundwater.
Groundwater.
Yep.
So clean groundwater that you pump up into a holding station or something.
Correct.
And then put the chlorine in and then shoot it back out.
Distribute it. Yep. Maintain pressure.
No fluoride.
Maintain chlorine levels throughout the system.
But no fluoride.
Not for us, no.
Okay. Do you think, like, you know a lot about water, should people have filters on their water?
I would say absolutely for taste.
Okay.
Because everybody needs to hydrate, and a lot of places don't have the best tasting water. We're very blessed here in Greenville that the tap water tastes so good, but most people are not so blessed.
So you don't filter the Greenville tap water?
We have one built in, but we don't need to. So.
Okay. Always curious, because, maybe they're just selling advertising, but whenever television or they're always giving me news that the water, you got a double and triple filter. Maybe that's coming from the filter people. Maybe they're the ones promoting this.
Absolutely. Yeah, and if you've been to Los Angeles or Las Vegas or even Phoenix, like you pour a glass of water out of the tap, it's pretty bad. So, you need the filtration, otherwise you're not going to drink your water.
Or something out of a bottle, maybe.
Exactly.
Yeah. So how long did that gig last?
Well, that gig evolved. So being that we were a very forward-thinking utility operations company, we also had a lot of our own technologies. And so those technologies was part of the startup that I, about halfway through my tenure there, jumped over to help start running the technology operations of the business. And again, it carried that same kind of momentum and excitement of a startup. But after you lay off about a third of the company a couple times over, the kegerator in the break room starts to lose its luster. It's not as cool anymore, and you realize, you know what?
Foosball
Maybe I need to
table.
be thinking differently about my next chapter.
No one's playing foosball anymore.
Exactly. And so that's when I made a shift to jump over to Harris Computer Systems at the time.
So, golly, okay, so managed public works, managed private works, I suppose, and then took the technology, ran it as a startup under this same private umbrella, I assume.
Correct, yes.
And then decided you didn't want to do that, or the opportunity wasn't good enough, or whatever. And you went to Harris, which is, I think, a great company, great sales training and all that stuff, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Part of Constellation Software, not sure if you're familiar, but Constellation Software, founded in 1995 by the humble and genius Mark Leonard, and has really grown to a behemoth. The premier acquirer of software companies in the world.
So hold on. Constellation Software, Canadian-based, right?
Correct, yes.
Started in 95?
Correct.
Okay, and you went to work for them in what year?
At the time, it was 2014.
Okay, 14. And this guy, Mark Leonard, has acquired to date how many companies?
Oh my gosh, you'd have to ask me that. I would push up to 300.
I think you're right.
If not way more than that. I mean, honestly, the pace has been exponentially more each year. So
I've got 2 now, and I wonder if he knows what I'm up to. So watch out for Sterling.
I can guarantee the army of business development resources within Constellation are already combing every technology company that you own and are aware of its current state, and they will be calling you when ready.
All of them,
Yep.
right? All of them, yeah. So he buys, how would you characterize the type of companies that Constellation buys?
So the term is vertical market software, and really what that means is mission critical software. When you think of a police station, they need software to run their operation. A library needs software to run their operation, to keep track of books or whatever it is, within that unique operation. School districts, hospitals. You can go down the line, and very quickly, vertical market software is all around us. Who manufactures furniture?
Right.
There's furniture manufacturing software out there to track supply, demand, sales, CRM, all built into some kind of platform, likely just for furniture manufacturers. So finding companies that are in vertical markets, there's a level of stickiness there, and there's a level of playbooks and systems that can be repeated to drive success and sustainability for those organizations as well.
Okay. That makes sense, because kind of what we all see all the time is Microsoft and Oracle and SAP, and we, the household names of software. But you're saying every niche, has its own software,
Correct.
and they're trying to amass all those, or they are amassing hundreds of them, and they run them in a very organized way.
Yep. And there's hundreds of thousands of them in the world, and say, to get a fraction of them and run them efficiently for the people and for the products and for the customers is a win.
Yeah, nice. So you went to work for Harris, which is a company that is owned by Constellation.
Correct.
And you ended up running, as I recall, it was like a multiple group of companies or divisions that you ran as CEO under Constellation.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there was an evolution there. Started out with government sector software companies, helping run those. Then started running a cardiology-based EHR, electronic health record was the first company that I kind of ran standalone. And then really from there just evolved the scale of responsibility. Before you know it, managing a portfolio of software companies in the healthcare space still, primarily ambulatory, clinical, electronic health record, billing solutions for the healthcare space. And, had a chance to do that multiple times over. I think, a blessing and a rare opportunity is the at-bats that I was able to get. Like when you think about the more at-bats you get, the more hits you're going to get. And the more you learn how to refine your swing. I've had the experience to run 17 different technology companies in various stages and scales and levels of opportunity, which gives you a lot of chance to see a lot of different things and figure out what doesn't work and then what does work.
Right. Yeah. So what were the general basic metrics required of every Constellation company?
Well, so much of that's proprietary. Well, it really comes down to understanding profitability. And regardless of industry, whether you're in the software space or lumber manufacturing or construction, it's really about understanding, what drives your bottom line. And do you have absolute clarity to that? Do you have absolute clarity to what your profit is per spend or whatever it is for your respective industry? So we had various metrics tied to that, whether it be on recurring or maintenance and support, or whether it be tied to implementations and one-time revenue or consulting. And really the big thing about metrics is it's less about the exact number and more about how do you drive incremental change. So if I know this is where we're at, how do I get to here?
Yeah.
And then how do I get to here? And then what are the things that you do to measure to see that you're getting there or not? Because sometimes things don't work and that's understood, but then you can dial it in, you can experiment, you can try again. But if you're not measuring that, if you're not tracking what's going to take you to get from here to here, you're not going to learn anything. Right. You're not going to know what did or didn't work, and likely you're just going to get stuck here, or you're going to start going backwards.
Right. I think without measuring the metrics, or without measuring the metrics or what you're doing to affect them, you're kind of flailing.
Correct.
Right. What we need is a webinar. What we need is we got to go to the trade. Just kind of flailing away with these ideas that may or may not help, metrics that we don't even know what they are.
Correct.
I've done it. I've flailed.
Yep.
But not anymore. No more flailing. So I talked to someone from a competitor company to Constellation, and I don't know whether they were just being flippant with me, but they said our job is pretty easy. We have to keep our profitability at each company at this rate or lower. And we'd like, number two is we'd like the revenue to go up a little bit. That'd be fine, but just don't miss your profitability. That means we always know how much money we're going to make. And I wondered, could it be that simple with that many companies? Everyone's shooting for the same margin. None of them are doing R&D, and none of them are trying to grow sales next year.
I could definitively say it's not easy, especially when you're balancing how do you invest in tomorrow. I think one thing that Constellation does that's different is buy and hold companies forever.
Forever.
So there's not this, we're going to flip this business within 5 years
Right.
and get a higher return on our investment that way. So because of that, there's this perpetual investment in the people and the product that you don't get with some other entities or portfolio companies. And so that means you have to be mindful of balancing that investment while still, like you said, maintaining your earnings. Understand what are the earnings that we need to generate so that we can invest in that tomorrow and not losing on that. And with all the forces around us in all of our different markets, competitors, attrition, there's a lot of older product lines out there that aren't shiny, really exciting things, but there's a commitment to those customers still and those team members. And so that's challenging to figure out how you balance that. So.
Right, yeah. Interesting. So when you were running your divisions, those multiple 17 different companies, tell us what you learned about hiring and managing salespeople in the tech space.
I find that for managing and hiring salespeople, especially sales leaders, is a priority on discipline and structure. Because one thing I learned early in my career is that sales individuals, sales professionals are very good at selling, which means they're going to sell you. They're going to tell you all the right things that they're doing and why that deal didn't close this month. And what is it that that you're not seeing that they're having to deal with. And then before you know it, you realize that there's a pattern there and there's always a reason. And being able to cut through that and have sales leaders and individuals that embrace the discipline, embrace the process, embrace the numbers, and understand that that's where you get your results. It compounds. And like anything in life, do we always want to go to the gym? Do we always want to work out? No, but we know it's good for us. Do we always want to do those cold calls? No, but we know that feeds the funnel. We know that following up with these leads is critical, and if we're not doing it at the cadence that we need, then they're likely going to drop off. They're going to fall out, And so making sure that the leads matriculate through the process all the way to the pipeline, and we're doing the things we need to do, looking for individuals that have a history of embracing that and aren't just talk. And that's not easy, especially when you're chatting with people that are good at selling you.
Right. Yeah. So how do you overcome that? What are some of the tricks to overcome?
Well, that's a pattern here, but it's again about implementing systems within the organization that ensure that there's lanes there that the teams fall into, ensuring that there's clear accountability for the different players on the team. They know exactly what they're responsible for. Are they responsible for deals closed?
Yeah.
Dollars booking? Or revenue realized, because each one of those is going to drive different behaviors. So as leaders, you want to be cognizant of what you're setting as your waypoints for the individuals on your team and how they're going to get there.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I mean, to the people listening, you have got to be crystal clear with your sales leader and your salespeople. Here's what your goal is. Here's how the comp works. Here's how we calculate things. Because if you leave anything to interpretation, they will exploit it in their favor, right? You can say, no, I thought you were going to count it this way, and
commission plans.
Well,
this gives them 3%, but this gives them 4%. Well, you know that they're going to put more time into whatever selling delivers 4%. And so you'll very quickly learn where maybe you had holes in your structure because you're getting, the system's going to generate results based on, what the system is. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, they're salespeople are super nice people, but they're not going to do anything to your benefit, right? They're going to do it for their benefit because that's what they're. It's a commission-driven thing. Charlie, was it Munger? He said, I'll tell you the result if you'll show me the incentive plan.
Yeah.
He says, I don't have to look any further than that. So very, very good. I mean, there's a lot of things that we do as business leaders where we're trying to get people to do something. Like we're going to get him to make the calls and get him to make the number. We're going to help him and we're going to do all these things. And then sometimes you just got to say, listen, we're just going to give you the target and you got to make the target or you're going to have to go try somewhere else, and here's the prize we're going to give you if you make it, and then let them figure it out.
Yep.
Because some will and some won't, right? but you can't make people do what they're not going to do.
Absolutely. No, and you also want them to understand the why. Like, why are we doing this? And for sure, is there a money factor that motivates individuals? Absolutely. But understanding how that deal inures to the greater vision and mission of the organization, and how that benefits the entire organization and makes it better tomorrow. And that really goes for any role, is making sure that, like, it's a trickle down. What are we trying to achieve as an organization, and then a department, and then a team, and then an individual contributor? How do you understand the incremental things that you do day to day that change the narrative for the business?
Right.
Do you know that? And if you don't, you should.
Right. Do you have a big deal you could walk us through that you did?
I'd say there's a handful. I actually think how I like to think about that is more like campaigns or programs that we put in place that generated results from a sales perspective, opposed to just maybe a singular deal. And I think that's where, as organizations, where I learned was there's usually a neglect for certain types of avenues for sales. And where I've seen the most success is a reinvestment in existing customers, back to base opportunities, B2B, but that's also back to business. But really, it's selling back into the base and understanding success factors for your current customers. What are add-ons? What are other things? What are other services? What are additional hooks that you can get in the existing customers? A lot of times organizations overlook that. They're constantly looking at the next big deal and overlooking the fact that you can drive 20% more revenue for the organization just by making the customers you serve now more successful. Because that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're making them more successful in their roles by delivering more ways to deliver success.
Absolutely. I think you're right. And I suppose I understand where people are coming from when they say, we need net new deals out of you. Net new. I'm like, I thought you just needed revenue, right? How about just revenue? We'll just give you revenue. And so we used to track, in another company, we would track the top 10 opportunities for the quarter, every quarter. What are the top biggest deals? Inevitably, 9 out of 10 were always with a customer.
Yep.
They bought something little, they were looking at something big, So it's we had one customer go from a $10,000 deal to a $25 million deal.
Yep.
But it took 10 years. But the ability to, I wouldn't even call it just an existing customer. It's almost an expansion.
Yes, and that's recurring revenue?
No.
Okay.
No,
You're just selling more things to them.
Selling more things to them. It's just more license and maintenance.
Yep.
Okay. What about, what are your thoughts on AI, ChatGPT, and all that? How that's going to affect business life as we know it?
Well, first off, it's not if. It's going to affect every single business, organizational, human, at a scale that I don't think most truly appreciate yet.
Yeah.
Another venture is I'm actually the CEO of an AI data infrastructure company, so accelerating that currently as well. So a lot of perspective on that space and
What does that company do?
We provide basically an overarching solution that sits on top of a complex ecosystem for a business or organization. And so really enterprise level organizations or healthcare is where we kind of have our footprint started, bringing a unified clarity and ability to action off of data from disparate systems, disparate teams, different roles, understanding interdependencies and workflows and feedback loops between an organization. Very quickly, you can start to see the complexity between a typical business.
So it uses AI to figure out the whole business?
To bring in the data, normalize the data, provide that data back to the end user, as well as bringing in data points as it relates to the organization and learning the organization structure, process, and then identifying in the billing process, where do things get hung up? Well, you know what? This approval has to go back and forth, 3 different times between Bob and Amanda. Oh, and well, why? And being able to kind of start to ask the whys and being able to drive change.
It maps everything and then starts to point out, check this one out, check this one out. Okay.
Correct.
Cool. Is this like a little mini Palantir?
A what?
A mini Palantir?
I am not familiar with that.
Palantir kind of does the same thing, but for big companies and governments and stuff. We'll have to look at it. Well, that's cool. That's very cool. What about Do you ever use AI for like calling old prospects and trying to?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the list of ways to use AI almost like in a transactional state is plenty to draft, correspondence or communications, and then you can refine it. I think that there's automation as it relates to outreach. There's automation and reminders. Like there's so many different those spot places. Hey, draft an RFP for me. Okay, cool. Yeah. And I think where the real benefit is when you start to think of the second dimension or even the third dimension, where instead of just automating a singular process or singular transactional component of your operation or you as a person, it starts to automate an entire kind of workflow. Or where the vision for our organization with Awali, the AI company, is, hey, can we start to automate the multiple layers and connectivity and dependencies? And I think the majority of organizations, I think the statistic is something like 82% of companies right now are either using or experimenting with AI. But the vast majority of those is really in the example that you just gave is just, can you draft this for me? Mm-hmm. Can you look at this for me? Can you analyze this data set for me? And then they're done. Yeah. And really where it's going to differentiate organizations and your business is when you start to get to that second and third dimension. And then the fourth dimension is predictive stuff that, like, as humans we can't even do. Right. Like, I was talking to a buddy the other day, and there's an organization that predicts the impact of explosives on different types of materials, and they were doing it for like Humvees, and they were actually predicting it down to the size and shapes of shrapnel that would come off of it. And then after they did it, they actually found pieces that mirrored what they had predicted. And so those are things that, like, as humans we can't even wrap our minds around. And so that's the next frontier, and I think that's scary and exciting at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wild. Certainly, always recommend to our viewers that they spend a little time with one of the AI tools every day.
Yep. The more you use it, the better you understand.
Use it. I use it for more stuff all the time. So let me ask you a couple of rapid fire questions, because this is kind of wrapping things up here. So, what's your favorite all-time book?
Ooh, since it's rapid fire, I don't know favorite book, but I would say the book I give people the most is The Last Lecture by Randy Pausch.
Oh.
I don't know if you've read it.
What's it about?
Great book written by an individual that was diagnosed with terminal cancer, had a year to live. He was a college professor. And basically over the course of that year, he wrote a book at the same time while giving lectures to his students about the things that matter the most in life. So, wow. So great book on perspective and gratitude and how to reflect.
Wow, that's good. That's a good one. I'll have to read that one. And then favorite band?
Shoot. I think you even told me you were going to ask me this. I love a lot of different music. I'm boring on this because I don't really probably have a unique favorite band. Angels and Airwaves is a band I like, I guess.
Angels and Airwaves.
Dave Matthews is always great.
Okay. I don't know the first one, but I know David Matthews. That's a fun band. How about favorite word?
Passion.
Passion.
If you don't love what you're doing, then why are you doing it?
Yeah, you would only answer that by saying because I have to, right? If I have to dig ditches to make money, I'll dig a ditch. But I certainly want to do something that I like.
Yep.
And we always tell people, I think one of the mistakes people make is they say, well, I just love playing the guitar and singing. I just love it, do it all the time. And then I say, but I can't make my living doing it, so I'm just going to put it aside, and I'm going to go, be a farmer or something, whatever, an accountant, right? Well, you don't have to be Edwin McCain and be a professional guitar player the rest of your life, but you can be in the guitar business. Mm-hmm. You can book tours, and you can sell guitars. You can sell strings. There's a lot of stuff you can do in that ecosystem. You can sell guitar software. And so I encourage people to get close to kind of the people they want to hang out with.
Yep.
So that's, I think we agree on that. So is there anything that you want to promote as we finish up here today?
Yeah, I'm passionate about helping other CEOs and leaders really realize a better return on life. I'm a partner in a firm called Next Level Growth, and that's our passion, is working with CEOs and helping them get unstuck and helping work with their organizations to put in systems and patterns and cadence and the right people that change their tomorrow. I think a lot of times as leaders of organizations, especially CEOs, it gets lonely at the top. And I think a lot of people have a misperception that like, oh, wow, they've got it all figured out. There's a lot of questions there, and it's always great to have that individual or that coach to kind of work with to figure out that's been there. They've been in the trenches, and so I'm passionate about working with other leaders in varying capacities to help change their tomorrow. So
that's wonderful, and I've certainly seen that and participated in that before, where the leadership in the company just kind of ground it out every day, and it was just like almost a rite of passage to kind of work 10 hours a day and be semi-miserable and kind of working in the business all day versus just backing up a little bit, saying, let's think about the decisions we're going to make for the business and let's let other people do the grind. So anyway, I'm sure you'll be helpful with that, and I hope you can figure out how to help me continue to improve that also. I love the phrase return on life, the ROL.
Yes. Michael Erath actually coined that phrase.
That's very good. That's very good. Well, we're definitely. Oh, one last thing. How did we get so lucky to get you in Greenville?
I don't know. I relocated here for the original opportunity with Harris, and then shortly thereafter was managing teams and businesses all over, and no longer had a team here locally. But like so many of us, you find Greenville, you fall in love, and you say, well, I'm not going to change the geography. The opportunities may change or where I'm affecting change, but I'm going to keep living here because it's awesome.
Well, we're really glad you're here. We're glad you're involved in the tech community. We're glad that you're involved in the veteran community at the Roop Center, Rupert Murdoch. Not Rupert Hughes. Rupert Hughes, yeah. So we're glad you're here, and thanks for being on the podcast.
Well, thank you, sir.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.